Hey everyone, welcome to the 4Ws of skilled documentation. My name is John Carrizales. I'm an occupational therapist, CEO and founder of Blueprint Clinical Development and Consulting Company, and also the creator of the Facebook group Functional Treatments for Neurological Clients. So I went ahead and created this PowerPoint just to kind of help everyone in the group if they need it. I got a lot of requests to do something on documentation. So here it is. We'll jump right into it. So what are the 4Ws? The 4Ws are what, how, and why. How doesn't really start with the W, but you get the idea. So the first what is, what did they do? Referring to the patient. Second is, what did I do? The therapist. The third is, how did they perform? And the fourth W is, why did they do it? So we'll go into this just a little bit. The first what is going to be focusing on the impairment that we're addressing. The second what is going to be focusing on your skill to address that impairment. And the third is how are they doing? So how much assistance did they need and how are they performing the task that we're giving them? And then why? So what's the functional purpose behind this? What's the client-centered reason? This should really kind of be a focus on everyday treatment for whether it's neuro or not. But we always need to understand why are we doing what we're doing, because I guarantee you the patient is also wondering why they're doing that. So this kind of struck a chord with me a while ago when the patient kind of just asked me why we were doing a treatment that I had chosen. And we're over there fumbling, trying to figure out a reason why. Let's use dumbbells or something like that for an example. We're trying to get your arms stronger so that you can push up from your chair. Well, they don't really need that necessarily if they can't even control their arm. So this kind of helps me kind of identify and really hone in on what we're doing and why are we doing it. So in between kind of defining all of those 4Ws, I like to use what I call skilled fillers. And there's really 100 more of these, but some of them, some examples of these are just facilitate, inhibit, engage, promote, directed, established, targeted, initiated, and stimulated. So let's put it all together. So what did the patient do? So the patient engaged in right upper extremity weight-bearing activity in a standing position. Okay, and then what did I do as the therapist? As the therapist, I facilitated increased force production through the right lower extremity, and I also facilitated and sustained right upper extremity tricep activation. So we're picturing this guy on kind of standing close to the wall with the wall right in front of him with his right arm on the wall in standing. And you could also put engaged in right upper extremity weight-bearing activity with right arm on the wall in standing. You could go into more detail here as well. This is kind of just an outline. Then how did they do? So they required maximal tactile cues or maximal facilitation techniques or something along those lines. And then why are we even doing that in the first place? So we're doing it to improve efficiency of right upper extremity sustained contact and safely utilize the rolling walker during functional mobility around the home. The key word here being safely. So insurance is always looking for safety, they're always looking for increased independence, and they're always looking for us to decrease caregiver burden. So as long as we have one of those three things in there, it's going to be hard to deny when you ask for an extension or ask for more time, because you're continually showing that you're working towards these things. And I'll go into that a little bit later as well. So the last example was of a guy that was standing, doing some stuff on the wall, which kind of indicates a higher level patient. So let's go into kind of a lower level treatment and documentation. So what did they do? So they performed body on arm techniques in supine with emphasis on increasing mobility of the scapula along the rib cage and addressing neglect in a safe environment. So what did I do when they did all of that? So I, or the therapist, facilitated the sequence of movement, cervical rotation to the left, and direction of force to initiate left lateral trunk to decrease abnormal or inefficient movement patterns. So how did they do? So they required minimal verbal cues to sustain that head rotation and moderate tactile cues for directional force to initiate or activate left lateral trunk, internal obliques. You can really be specific or as general as you want. I guess it depends on the setting that you're in and the comfort of how you feel about documenting. But you, in order for them to, well, let's go for the why. So we did all of that so that they can improve bed mobility and decrease caregiver burden during toileting tasks, or bed bath, or supine to sit, whatever you want to put there. But you have to have these four components in there to kind of show what you're doing, what you're having the patient doing, how they're actually performing all of this so they can get a better picture, and then why are we doing it in the first place. So we're trying to improve bed mobility, and then you can list 5 other things that you need bed mobility to be mastered before you can do, or to decrease caregiver burden. But we're also labeling what our skill was with facilitation and how they're performing that task that we gave them. So all of that is in this one documentation piece. It feels lengthy, but it doesn't have to be this lengthy. This is just kind of an outline with extra detail. So the best part of documenting with the 4 W's in mind is that if you're addressing the impairments that are inhibiting function, you should be working on these same impairments every treatment. So your treatment may look a little bit different, but it's not going to be totally different. And I'll kind of show you that in a second. I know it looks like a lot, but initially the documentation takes a little bit of time when you're first starting out and kind of thinking about these 4 W's. But I promise y'all, it gets a lot easier, and it really shapes how you treat in the end. At least that's what I think. So if you are working on true impairments, then you should continue to work on them until they're improved better, or at least to a functional, at least that they show in functional improvement. So you only have to change a couple of things. And assuming that we have electronic medical records now, and that your note from yesterday will flow over to today, you can just change a few pieces. So let's say the next day they come in and all you would have to change is they require no verbal cues for the head rotation, and they require minimal tactile cues as opposed to moderate for the initiation of the activation of their trunk to get them to roll to the left side. So if you can just change those two things, or you can say, now I'm doing it because they had mentioned they are having difficulty getting into a sitting position in bed. So now I can just change it to, I'm doing all of that to increase independence with supine to sit in preparation for standing. Well, why are we doing that? Oh, for functional transfers. So you can add that piece as well. You can also back up at the top, instead of working on supine, we can do body on arm techniques. Oops, sorry. We can do body on arm techniques in sitting. And we still have to address the neglect and the avoidance of that left side. So you can literally keep everything the same and just change a few words here and there. And so initially it takes a long time when you're first starting out and kind of figuring out how to write like this, but in the end it becomes so efficient and it keeps you on track. And also, if another therapist comes behind you, we don't need to tell them that we're using a ball to do this. We are all skilled enough to kind of understand or get the gist of what we're trying to achieve, and let the other therapist run with it and do their own style while addressing these same impairments. So at least the impairments are here and the amount of assistance needed is here, and kind of let them come up with a new challenge to kind of target some of those impairments. So the biggest thing is continually ask yourself why. So why are we doing that? And that's just that kind of keeps function at the forefront of what we're doing in treatment. That is what insurance is doing. So if they're looking at your documentation and you're asking for an additional 2 weeks, additional 2 days, whatever the case is, it's going to be really hard to deny that if you're showing continued progress with some of these same things that you are doing. So we're addressing the impairments that are observed, and we keep making functional gains towards that. So always ask yourself why, with everyone. This, not even neuro patients, just with everyone in general. If any of y'all want additional help or additional answers, if you have some things to share, whatever the case is, you can always set up a free call just to kind of see where you're at. If you're struggling with anything, prioritizing treatments, how do I progress patients, documentation, just kind of designing functional treatments. There's just a way that you have to view things and look at things a little bit differently that we're not necessarily taught in school. So I would love to help with that. If you have any questions, you can also email me. And the last one is just additional resources. There's some videos on YouTube, and I will put this one on there as well, that you can just check out. There's some for cognition, kind of gait training and what to be looking for with that, and some with Parkinson's. So some of the videos that were here in this group. And if you would like to share some of those, you can do that through the additional resources tab. But I hope this helps, and I hope it kind of shifts your way of thinking as far as documentation and why we are doing what we are doing. And we have so much to offer these patients, and we need to kind of make that clear in how we write our documentation. So again, thank y'all so much for being a part of this group. And I love each and every one of y'all, and y'all drive me to be better and to help others. And that's what it's all about. So I hope this helps. Y'all have a great day.